There's renewed tension tonight between the United States and Pakistan after another reported cross-border missile strike from Afghanistan. The missile, fired from a suspected US drone, is said to have killed 12 people in a Pakistani tribal area where American forces have been targeting Al-Qaeda militants.
There's no dispute that Islamic militants are operating freely in Pakistan's border regions. But how to deal with them is driving a dangerous wedge between Islamabad and Washington. Today's missile attack is thought to be the fifth since the beginning of this month, allegedly carried out by US forces. The Pentagon never confirms its involvement, but Pakistan says operations across its border will not be tolerated.
These are the orders that in case of any physical incursion, the troops defending the territorial border of Pakistan would retaliate.
The US says Pakistan's tribal areas are being used as safe havens by militants preparing attacks on Afghanistan. It's reported that President Bush has approved cross-border incursions from Afghanistan without clearance from Islamabad. That's thought to be a response to what Washington sees as a lack of action against Islamic extremists. Pakistan is itself suffering from their presence. An attack on this mosque near the Afghan border killed at least 10 people and left many others wounded. Pakistan says it's killed hundreds of militants in the country's northwest, but America insists a new strategy is needed. This week it committed more troops to Afghanistan, a move welcomed by its president.
We support his decisions. These troops will add to the fight against terrorism, and I hope they'll be deployed where they're most needed in this war against terrorism. We of course also heard yesterday that President Bush spoke about increasing the capacity and numbers of the Afghan army.
But the aggressive shift in policy is playing much less favourably on the other side of the border. Pakistan insists it will deal with its own problems in its own way. The frustration between two previously close allies in the war on terror is growing. Keith Breen, World News Australia.
The United States, meanwhile, has been marking the event that triggered the invasion of Afghanistan, the September 11th attacks in New York and Washington. The presidential candidates took the day off from sniping at each other, although campaigning didn't come to a complete halt. In her first one-on-one interview, Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin refused to rule out war with Russia over Georgia.
The 9/11 ritual of music, tears and a roll call of the dead marked the 7th anniversary of the World Trade Center attacks.
Susan Leigh Blair.
At Ground Zero in New York, families mourned the almost 3,000 people killed that day. In Washington, President Bush observed the moment that shaped his presidency.
7 years ago at this hour, a doomed airliner plunged from the sky, split the rock and steel of this building, and changed our world forever.
Barack Obama and John McCain suspended their bitter presidential contest for the day. Senator McCain spent his morning visiting the crash site of United Flight 93 in Pennsylvania, underlining his history as a Vietnam War pilot. The senators spent the evening discussing national service. McCain talked up his specialist subject, foreign policy, while Obama hit back at derogatory remarks about his past as a community organiser. Senator McCain's running mate Sarah Palin wasn't so polished in her TV debut, refusing to rule out war with Russia if Georgia joins NATO.
That is the agreement when you are a NATO ally, is if another country is attacked, you're going to be expected to be called upon and help.
She struggled with some questions.
Do you agree with the Bush doctrine?
In what respect, Charlie?
The Bush, well, what do you interpret it to be?
His worldview.
The self-imposed truce meant the Democrats had to hold their tongues about her performance for today, but are reportedly sharpening their knives. Emma Hannigan, World News Australia.